Our top story. Have you guys heard of the airline called GoFirst? Chances are most of you have. GoFirst is a budget carrier based out of Mumbai. But it looks like the folks at GoFirst take the company's name way too seriously. Why do I say that? Because their flight from Bangalore to Delhi was so eager to take off first that it left behind some passengers. It happened. Guess how many passengers they left behind? Not 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. 55. GoFirst left 55 passengers on the tarmac and took off towards Delhi. They simply forgot these 55 passengers. I know it sounds absurd and borderline comical, but put yourself in the shoes of those people who were to travel on that flight. You have paid good money to take the flight. Maybe you have an emergency in Delhi, or maybe there's a family event, or maybe there's an important meeting. But instead, you are left stranded on the tarmac. And not just you, 54 other people like you. Let me tell you how this fraud unfolded. I know fraud sounds a bit harsh, but listen closely and then decide for yourself. These 59 passengers had checked in, and gotten their boarding passes, so they weren't late. Even their luggage had been loaded onto the plane. The passengers were then put on a bus which was supposed to take them to the flight. But the last part never happened. The GoFirst flight took off even before these 55 passengers reached their plane. It's happened. We did speak to some of the passengers who were left behind. They were extremely angry and upset. This is what they told us.
अराउंड 1 घंटा उसी बस में रहने के बाद हम लोगों ने ड्राइवर से बहुत ज़्यादा रिक्वेस्ट भी किया और उनको थोड़ा स्ट्रांगली भी बोला कि आप कहाँ लेके जा रहे हो, फ्लाइट किधर है. एंड देन फाइनली उन्होंने अराइवल गेट्स के पास बस को पार्क किया और फिर बहुत उनको बोलने के बाद गेट खोला गया. फिर हम लोगों ने कुछ सीआरपीएफ के लोगों को अपनी प्रॉब्लम बताई. उसके भी करीबन 10-15 मिनट बाद गो एयर का स्टाफ आया, GoFirst का स्टाफ आया और फिर उनको भी काफ़ी समय लग गया ये समझने में कि हम किस फ्लाइट से हैं और हुआ क्या है. सो दे वर ऑल्सो नॉट श्योर कि व्हाट इज़ द प्रॉब्लम. एंड देन अराउंड 7:20, 7:30 a lot of people came from Go Air and then they told us कि flight तो already it has taken off and around one bus has been left behind.
We surprised this when we came back 1 hour after the bus. Nobody knowed, even security doesn't have the proof where it went, and airlines doesn't have. They were shocked why this has happened because 1 hour in the bus they didn't have information, and driver didn't give information to nor the airlines nor the security. Say that I'm stuck in the traffic, I'm not able to take the passenger. It is so unprofessional way of handling passengers. After requesting so much time, if they are not able to understand the passenger pain, and we've had to go to harassment kind of a thing, and we had to request so many things. He's giving a lot of unwanted words. I'm arranging. I really don't know the way they handle passengers. And really shocking, 55 people in the bus, and they don't have any clue of the passengers where they went.
Now, the company, GoFirst, is calling it an inadvertent oversight. Let me translate that official language for you. GoFirst is basically saying, we messed up, but we did not do it on purpose. They say all the passengers were put on alternate flights and the concerned employees have been taken off the roster. Now, does that mean the pilots and the cabin crew, or does it mean the desk staff? GoFirst did not give us any clarity on that, but turns out this isn't the first time the airline has left passengers on the tarmac. Let me tell you about another incident from December 2021. A GoFirst flight from Kolkata to Mumbai left 5 passengers stranded. They were seated inside an airline bus, but the driver refused to budge. The DGCA has pulled up the carrier. They say GoFirst failed to comply with rules and made multiple mistakes while communicating and coordinating. So we are concerned about 2 questions tonight. Number 1, how does something like this even happen? Clearly, GoFirst is taking the blame for it, for the civil aviation authorities have gotten a clean sheet. But was it the pilot's fault or the ground staff's fault or the bus driver's fault? I mean, as I said, this is not 4 or 5 or 6 passengers. This is 55 passengers we are talking about. And question number 2. What is this virus ailing Indian Airlines? And by that, I mean not Indian Airline, but Indian Airlines, all of them. You have long delays, you have mixed up baggages, you have unruly passengers, there are mid-air brawls. Is social media giving more traction to these incidents, or is there something systemically wrong with our carriers that they are making headlines almost every day and mostly for the wrong reasons? Shreya Dhoundial is an aviation lawyer. He's joining us on the broadcast. Captain Amit Singh is founder, Safety Matters Foundation. He's joining us on the broadcast as well. And Professor Sriram Khanna is the managing editor of Consumer Voice magazine. He's joining us on the broadcast as well. And dear viewers, we are opening up our phone lines as well. So if you've been harassed while taking a flight or something similar has happened to you while you were on board or off board a flight, do call us and share your experiences with us. But Captain Amit, let me come to you first. Have you been able to understand how an airline can simply forget 55 passengers on the tarmac?
Well, I just can't comprehend, because 55 or 54 is not a small number. Anybody would notice. Even the cabin crew would notice, ground staff would notice. And there are systems in place. For example, when you are boarding the bus on the tarmac, before that, there's a ground staff who checks and scans your boarding card. So they are counting the number of passengers who are coming on board. Then at the step ladder, we have a person who's checking the boarding cards. When you're on board, the cabin crew are observing people. Before the door is closed, there is a load and trim sheet which is handed over to the pilot for the final sign-off, which has the total number of passengers and the seating, where all the passengers are seated. Most important thing which people are missing is the baggage, the check-in baggage. It is a security risk. I can take you back to the Kanishka bombing of the Air India 747, wherein the passengers were not on board, but the check-in bags were on board, which contained the bomb. So this is a security risk. We can't take it lightly. I think DGCA has let them off very lightly. They should have taken the strictest action if this is a repeat case, especially. And for safety point of view, passengers are distributed across the seating plan. If you have 180 seats, the passengers are distributed so that the balance of the aircraft is maintained. If 54 passengers are missing, then the aircraft balance is off and the pilot is unaware of it. Even if there is the slightest suspicion that 1 or 2 passengers might be missing, the commander has the authority to order the cabin crew for a manual count, manual head count, we call it. So manually, they want to confirm that what figure has been given to us as a final sign-off. Those many people on board, but 54 people missing, anybody would notice. So this is very surprising that multiple places this was missed out. So this is a systemic failure in GoFirst, and DGCA, which has the responsibility of oversight, and which was given, or they self-proclaimed they were given very high standards by ICAO, 85% in oversight, and they were top 50 countries. So this is the kind of oversight wherein every day a new, surprisingly new episode is coming out. So this is not the kind of aviation and the safety we are expecting from the airlines in India. So they have to manage their own processes. Nobody's going to come there, sit on their head and monitor everything. So there's this basically self-monitor and control.
Captain Amit Singh, what you are telling me is that the failure is not at one level. The failure is at multiple levels, and that at every level, people have been sleeping. Essentially that. I mean, for heaven's sake, this is not you taking a couple of people for a walk in the park. You're flying them, from Bangalore to Delhi. And you leave 55 of them behind because you forget them? There's something terribly... I'm not even convinced about the statement that GoFirst, Shreya Dhoundial has put out. I'm fairly certain you've read the statement as well. They have apologized to passengers. They're saying, we are sorry. And, we did put them on different flights and we are offering them a free ticket as well. Okay. But they haven't told us how exactly it has happened. To me, it's mind-boggling.
See, as far as the law is concerned on the subject, now again, time and again, also whenever there is an issue, we come back. Why is there no law, or why is there no proper implementation to protect the passengers? Now, today also, if you see the law, what exists, there is something called as a passenger no-show and a gate no-show. A passenger no-show is a concept in which the passenger doesn't show up at the airport. That is why the aircraft can leave without the passenger. And another concept is something called as gate no-show. So the passenger has come to the airport, taken the boarding pass, but does not arrive at the boarding gate. That is why your boarding pass, when you see on all the boarding passes also, it is written that the gates will close 20 minutes prior to the takeoff. So that is the reason, that is a caution which is given to a passenger. But now what we have seen here is something which is absolutely new. And of course, there is no provision under law, there is no provision by the DGCA to protect the passenger in such a case. Now, what has actually happened is the pilot or the aircraft people over there who own the aircraft have thought the plane has been loaded with all the passengers, because at the time of boarding at the gate, when they scan the boarding passes, that is the final count that how many passengers are boarding. So the pilot, under the assumption that everybody is on board, has taken the aircraft and gone away. Otherwise, because even one of the passenger doesn't show up at the boarding gate, there is a procedure of a gate no-show, in which what happens is the one passenger also who doesn't show up at the gate in spite of a boarding pass, his baggage has to be offloaded. There has to be a report that passenger has to be located by the CRPF, because it is a safety risk of somebody being in the airport and not boarding the aircraft. So that procedure has to be done, and thereafter the gates can only be closed. Thereafter the flight can take off. So there is an entire procedure, even if one person doesn't show up. So that procedure, of course, has been blatantly not followed in this case. I don't think they were even aware that 50 people are not on board. Now, again, the question comes up, was there a double check?
Sarosh, the point is that if you don't show up at the gate, if you have a boarding pass, many airlines I know will simply call you. I have been called a couple of times to say, please reach the departure gate because your flight is about to take off. It's standard operating procedure. In this case, as you said, it's not one people or two people, it is 55 people.
So they thought they were on board, and what happened is this was by the bus. So after they got down from the bus also, there should have been a person at the boarding, at the time of boarding, to cross verify that whether all the passengers who have seated on the bus have got into the plane. That has not happened. So the procedure there, I think there's a lacuna, or there is like they are cutting corners, or they're cutting on manpower, or they had manpower shortage for an early morning flight and they had less personnel to complete the boarding task. So there is, of course, some potfall, and DGCA, of course, this is not only negligence on behalf of the passengers, or this is a very big safety risk. This is a very serious situation. DGCA should, of course, take a very strong note of it. Now, of course, as usual, now we have not seen anything yet now, but there will be a show cause notice which will be given to the airlines. But there is nothing happening. The aviation law in India needs to be upfront, or needs to be updated to keep up with all these situations. Because time again, we are seeing that because of our law.
And it is, give me a minute here. I have some callers as well, but the fact is that there are two speakers on this panel who have said this can be a security risk. Captain Amit Singh and Shreya Dhoundial as well. Imagine this. I mean, you've been issued a boarding pass and you don't show up in the flight, but your baggage has been checked in. What's in that baggage? What if something happens? This is a security risk as well. So just a slap on the wrist by the DGCA will not help. Saying sorry will not help. Yes, there are people who've been cheated on the tarmac, but what has also happened is something that could have ended up very, very, very badly. Has GoFirst's response been appropriate? Certainly not. I'm going to put that question to Professor Sriram Khanna. But before that, let me quickly take in our first three callers. Santosh, you're calling us from Mumbai. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Am I audible?
Good evening, Santosh. Go ahead, please.
Right. So I have one thing that I would like to state here is I have lived this life of aviation for almost 22 years, and I must say one thing very specifically here. We call it the aviation industry in India, but I really don't think we are anywhere close to being an aviation industry. It's a pocket full of airlines coming and going. If you see it right from East West Airlines to NEPC to Damania, coming on to Jet, now coming on to Go. All these airlines have just come in 5 years, gone 5 years, come in 5 years, gone 5 years. So we hardly can call ourselves as aviation industry is the first thing. Secondly, I believe very strongly that the kind of taskmasters that our training departments used to be earlier are not so today, because of a simple fact that today everything is much easier. The crew gets passed easy, the ground staff gets passed easy, just because there is a continual requirement for people to start flying immediately as soon as they get recruited. And that is where the quality goes down. That is where if you see, and I'm not talking about a airline per se, call about Go Air, call about Indigo, which instance happened with the lady getting very upset with a passenger, call it the mid-air brawl in Air India, as well as the peeing instance with Air India. All these have started long ago, and we are only seeing the repercussions today, more so because the social media is so prevalent. All these are repercussions of those serious safety measures which were not taken as should have been taken and were taken earlier when the privatization happened. That is one. And my question to the panel here is, agreeing to Captain Singh, my question to the panel is very simple. My question is, we'll talk about this for probably another 4-5 days. Another instance will happen and we'll forget about it. Is there any way, I'm sure Mr. Damania, the lawyer, can give us some light on this. Is there any way there can be a law, there can be a fast track for such instances, and there can be punitive actions where people actually know what has happened? That's my question.
Okay, Santosh, thank you very much. I'm going to put that question to our panel as you have requested. But before that, let me quickly take in 2 other callers calling us. Rohit Srivastav, you're calling us from Pune. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Shreya, and all the panelists. Thanks for this opportunity. So this question is actually to Mr. Damania, because I had an harrowing incident while I was traveling with my family with Air India on 27th of August. I was standing at the gate to board my flight, and I was not allowed to board the flight. When I asked why am I not allowed to board the flight, then they said that you have reached late. But I was there 55 minutes before the boarding time. So then I asked them several times. They did not answer me. And the worst part is that neither I was put on another flight, neither I was refunded. And the very, very worst part, what happened was that they breached the modesty of my wife, where they recorded her while we were asking for answers that why we have not been asked to board the flight. I put up several tweets to DGCA, Mother Jyotirades India, Air India CEO, but I did not get any response. I have put an official complaint, and till date I have not got a single response from Air India that why was I not allowed to board the flight. And they misbehaved with us. They threatened us. They sued us. So I had a very, very bizarre incident, and I would like Mr. Damania to give me some advice. How can I pursue this case criminally or through statutory measures? Because I don't really want to leave Air India scot-free.
Okay, Rohit. Then just wait for a minute. I'll put that question to Mr. Damania. Jyoti, you're calling us from Chennai. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. I'm Jyoti here. I've been a frequent flyer for years now, and I have seen the fall in services across airlines. And believe me, when I say Kingfisher was the best, I agree, and hundreds, millions maybe, will agree with me that Kingfisher gave us the best service ever. Never mind what happened to it after that. Great care was taken by all airlines, whoever was flying us now over the past 3 years because of COVID. They ensured PPE was in place, we were seated well, all that. But now the levels have fallen across airlines. Look at the events which have happened with Air India, with Indigo, with others. We wait in buses before boarding.
Okay.
They don't even give us water in a bottle anymore. It's given to us in a plastic cup. How can a plane take off without 50 passengers? Why do we scan boarding passes so many times? Why does the crew count us in our seats so many times? How can someone pee on anyone and get away? Is there no protection for passengers? We pay for these tickets. We are not government servants who fly free. We pay for every ticket. And during COVID, I was paying for 2 tickets to ensure nobody sat next to me. All that was allowed. And now what's happening? Traffic is picking up. So that's it. Service levels have fallen all across. How do we take this up and make the airlines pay us, not just refund our money? Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Someone will probably have to sue them. Mr. Dhoundial, there were 2 people who had direct questions for you. What do we do in a situation where an airline like Air India is telling us you can't board the flight even though you have reached 55 minutes prior to departure at the boarding gate? In this case, what do passengers do? In the case of GoFirst, do they simply accept that they have been, put on different flights, or they are being offered a free ticket by the airline? Should they just accept it, or is there anything else they can do?
See, apart from, of course, one of the main grievances right now, the DGCA is in every flight promoting their AirSeva app where you can file a complaint directly with the DGCA and DGCA will take action on it. But of course, we have not seen some results or some anything coming out of it as much. So of course, another option available with the passengers is to go and file a consumer complaint in the consumer court against the airlines. In that, of course, they can claim damages and compensation apart from that one free ticket or the complimentaries and for the deficiency. This is here also calls for a very big thing is about the service industry and the level of service what they are providing. The service which is provided today to these 50 passengers is, I would say, a third grade service. It's completely deficiency of service, and this trade practice what they are following just to give one free ticket or they put them on alternate flight is not what they've done something extra. This was the deem they should have done it. There is no other point about, there is no other way to it. They should have not put the passengers on. They were there, passengers were on time, they were at the boarding gate, they were put in the bus and they were stranded on the tarmac of the airport. That is an even worse situation. So of course, for the Air India passenger also, the way ahead would be to file if he's not happy, he has to go to the consumer court, file a consumer complaint against the airline, and of course, then let the law take its place thereafter about the compensation is concerned.
Professor Sriram Khanna, these are paying citizens, and what happened with them was daylight robbery. Now, people in India, to my mind, are very good people because they haven't gotten into a habit like the Americans of suing the airlines. Because once airlines are taken to court and once they are made to pay, maybe you will get better service for what you're paying for.
Madam, I'd like to just put the record straight. The main point here is that the DGCA and the bureaucrats of the Ministry of Civil Aviation are in good terms with the managements of all the airlines, and there's a cushy and warm relationship between them, and the result is that the consumer or the passenger is getting the short end of the stick. And he's getting that because the civil aviation rules that have been drawn up to ensure that airlines treat passengers with respect and ensure that they do not lose time or money or put to inconvenience. They have rules which are to the advantage of the airlines. And all this talk about app, etc. is all bullshit. We have been asking the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the DGCA to set up an airline ombudsman who should have a representative at every airport. If something is going wrong and a passenger makes a complaint, he should order for immediate correction there and then. DGCA and anybody of the Ministry of Civil Aviation is not present when things go wrong at the airport. And you can write an email and you will never get a reply. So the passengers are suffering for 2 reasons. One is this cushy relationship between DGCA and the airlines, And number two is because the volumes of flyers is going up in double digits. Number of domestic flyers is doubling every 5 or 6 years. And clearly the airline managements are not professional enough to cope with the increase in the load of their aircrafts and the number of volume of passengers that they are dealing with. And the result is you are frequently hearing for these breakdowns and these incidents where either ground staff or air crew or somebody is screwing up and the passengers are paying through their nose. Secondly, my learned friend who's a lawyer
And these are paying
is
passengers, by
advising
the
to
way.
go to a consumer court. He's not telling you. No. Listen. The learned lawyer is not telling you that when you go to a consumer court to get a redressal against Air India or anybody in a district forum for say 25,000 or 30,000 rupees, you will have to spend 3 years and you probably have to spend 10 to 20,000 rupees to get the 25,000 rupees. So it's to no advantage of the consumer. Why should a consumer run in courts? Why can't the DGCA have a procedure to compensate passengers through an authority empowered under the Civil Aviation Authority and the Civil Aviation Regulations? You make a complaint today, somebody is late by 4 hours, the airline. They're supposed to serve him lunch. They're not serving any lunch. And who's going to ensure it? You write a letter and 3 months later there's no reply and the whole issue is forgotten. So this cushy relationship between airlines and the regulator has become the bane and problems for passengers. And it's because passengers don't have time to fight and complain. This thing is going on. I think the blame lies squarely on the Ministry of Civil Aviation and those officers and bureaucrats of the Ministry of Civil Aviation who are patting their own backs or whatever they are doing. They are not concerned about the way the passengers are being treated. Their rules are friendly to the airlines, not to the passengers. And I think something has to be done. And if the Minister of Civil Aviation doesn't wake up, I'm sorry, the passengers are going to continue to have a raw deal in the months to come. Thank you.
Okay. You know, to me, what really stands out is the fact that there was a complete mess, for example, at the Delhi airport, and not for one day, for weeks on end, and no one from the Civil Aviation Ministry even bothers to look into it till people start tweeting and putting out videos. In most cases, in the last couple of weeks that we have seen concerned with aviation and all the headlines, all the cases that have made headlines, it's because the story has exploded on social media and national media. Otherwise, there have been no responses from airlines, there have been no responses from the DGCA, and there have certainly been no responses from the Civil Aviation Ministry. So till a story, till an incident becomes viral, God save you, because your troubles are not going to be addressed. By writing a simple email like a Sharif Admi is not going to work in this country anymore. Let me quickly get in a couple of more callers before I go back to my guest. Professor R. Borges is joining us from Delhi. Professor, please go ahead.
Actually, I want to say, why was not the plane Yes, I wanted to ask.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Why was not the captain of the aircraft asked to return immediately after the takeoff? Why was he not told to return immediately to take the 45 passengers?
Good point. I'm wondering if even at midair, he knew that he had left behind 55 passengers. But it's a question I'll put to our guest this evening. It's a good point. Rohit is calling us from Bangalore. Rohit, please go ahead.
Question.
Rohit, can you hear me?
It's not Rohit, it's Vishwesh.
Okay, Vishwesh, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Shreya, my question is, one thing is that the previous gentleman from Delhi asked one real very good question, that why did the airline did not call? Because when it is on the runway, when it is taking off, it can always be asked to halt when they have left. Secondly, there are so many things happening. Where is the government taking decisions? There have been 300 trains cancelled. People have booked their tickets. They have not got refund. Who is questioning them? When the airline says that, who is questioning them? Nobody is coming up to the rescue of the customer. Customer is laid like a paltry man. You, as a person who is, a tax-paying citizen, you're paying for everything. Even for the tickets you buy for the airlines, you're paying for the tax for that. Where is the government doing it? What government is doing it? Government is only talking about religion, casteism, and all these things. That's all. There's nothing being concrete which is happening on papers.
Okay, Captain. Okay, Captain Jaspal, I believe from Rohtak is calling us. Captain Jaspal, please go ahead. Viewers, just to tell you that I think we'll only have time to take one caller, Captain Jaspal, after which we'll be closing our phone lines. But Captain Jaspal, please go ahead.
Shreya, good evening. You know, everyone has to be absolutely expert in litigation. One shouldn't be scared of. File damages, continue fighting, and you don't have to hire an advocate. It is a fundamental right, source of livelihood. You are going for an urgent work. And under Article 32, fill the Supreme Court with petitions. Sir, my fundamental right has been affected, and I want to live with dignity and honor in high secret. I should be given damages. You need no advocate. Thank you.
Okay, Captain Jaspal, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we all know the way courts work in this country. It's tariq pe tariq. To get 30,000 bucks from an airline, if you end up spending 25,000 or 35,000 on a lawyer and keep running around for 3 years, what exactly is the point? You know, I have 10 seconds each to give to our panelists who are joining us here. Saroj Damnia, there's something seriously wrong going on. I understand that the number of people who are now traveling has increased to a level where probably airports and airlines are not being able to handle it. But fact also is that the number of people who were fired by airlines and airports during the COVID era, a lot of them have not come back, which is why we are seeing a lot of these breakdowns at great frequency. So airlines need to fix their game as well, because if customer is king, why will the customer take the shit?
This clearly looks out to be a HR issue in the airlines. Of course, they don't have enough trained manpower. And time and again, we have seen that this all mistakes are happening due to negligence or negligent attitude of the crew or the ground staff. In this case, it was clearly the ground staff. Now, of course, we cannot blame the captain in this case for taking off the plane, because as per the records of the which were submitted by the ground staff, all the passengers on board, and early morning flights, sometimes, of course, there are less passengers on board. So the captain didn't know about it. So of course he has taken the flight. So this is, in this case, clearly the ground staff and the boarding manager who's at the gate is at the fault. So of course better training and better manpower and better quality of staff for the airline is required.
I mean, if more consumers are coming to you, if more people are flying, that's good for your business. And if it's good for your business, invest in manpower and invest in trained manpower so that your customers can be treated like kings and not as paupers as you usually treat them. Captain Amit Singh, two of our viewers have asked a very pertinent question. Why did the pilot not return mid-air? I mean, he was mid-air. One is assuming that 10 minutes, into the flight, he probably may have realized that there are 55 people who are missing from his flight. Why could he not have come back and picked them up? It's a question that our viewers have asked. I'm putting it to you.
Well, even if one baggage is on board without the passenger, the flight cannot continue. So that is a security risk. And this is a 2.5-hour flight. So if the ground staff was aware, they should have immediately informed the air traffic controller, who would inform the captain that there are bags on board without passengers or 54 passengers are missing. The captain is bound to return or land immediately, since it is a security risk now. So that, having said that, The larger issue is the training standards have dropped. It is all about production and safety. So when you are focusing too much on production or getting revenue, you have to balance safety also. Safety also has to come up. So we are not doing that. So there is a drop in the standards of training at every level.
Okay.
And the regulator, which is responsible for oversight of all these things, they themselves do not have adequate manpower or adequately trained manpower to conduct proper audits. If you see, no reports have been published in the last 1 year, no accident reports. So they are trying to conceal or suppress information so that nobody basically challenges them. Even accident reports by AIB, they have stopped updating their website, and DGCA also doesn't publish anymore. The SpiceJet accident which happened in Jabalpur, Durgapur, wherein one person died, it's been more than 6 months. Nobody knows what has happened. So there is no follow-up. There is no way that an ordinary citizen can follow up and find out what is happening. Leave alone that professionals like pilots do not come to know the result of the accidents. So how will they learn from mistakes of others? So that is the primary cause.
You know, they say sunlight is the best disinfectant. They say sunlight is the best disinfectant, but the aviation industry clearly doesn't believe in that. Professor Sriram Khanna, I have 10 seconds. How do consumers demand better? यहाँ पर तो सब दादागिरी airlines की है. They get away with murder, quite literally.
Unless the DGCA tightens the civil aviation rules to protect every dimension of consumer interest and ensure that whatever rule is in place is implemented, and there is oversight by the DGCA to ensure that rules are complied with, and if there is a failure, there has to be an inquiry and responsibility has to be assigned, and there have to be penalties payable by the airlines to the government and compensation to those who have lost time and money. And unless you have a system that penalizes the wrongdoer, this is going to continue till the cows come home. So that's the only way. This unholy alliance between the DGCA and the airline managements has to go. Regulator must regulate, not be friends with the airlines. And what they are doing is, they are in bed together and they have to get out and do their jobs. You can't have friendship with those who are going to regulate. That is the point that has to be made here, and the ministry is actually complicit in this. They watch, they know, and they are not doing anything.
Okay, we'll
so
leave it there.
Wake up.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Tell the Prime Minister you are unable
wake
to
up,
do your
India,
job.
wake up, is what you're saying.
Find another minister.
Okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. Saroj Damnia, thank you very much. Professor Khanna, always good to have you on the show. Okay, sir. Acha, Jyotiraditya Scindia, wake up. Okay, yeah, actually we have not heard from him. Interesting, because aviation has been so much in the news and you aren't hearing from the aviation minister on any of the things that are going on in the aviation industry. It's surprising, actually. We'll leave it there for the moment. Captain Amit Singh, thank you very much. Professor Sriram Khanna and Saroj Damnia, thank you very much. Slipping into a quick break on the show.